Hey kiddos, we're starting a new week this week, and we're going to be working with decimals this week. We're going to start out with just doing things like expanded form, naming using place value. We're going to compare decimals, round decimals, those kinds of things. So this video is just going to be an example of 10 different types of questions that you might see similar questions on your Mastery Connect assignment. So let's get started. All right, so this one says they're giving you the number 392.5. They say it's written in expanded form, and the blank represents the missing value. They're wanting you to figure out, based on place value and looking at the expanded form, what could go in this blank right here. So if they have this number and they're telling you this one is representing 3 times 100, so that's the 300. So we're saying what would go next? What does this number right here represent? This 9. So obviously we're using 9, but we're wondering what is that place value? So if 9 is representing 90, then that means we need the 9 times 10. All right, on this question, they're wanting to know which number has the least value. So as we read through the answer choices, we're going to write down the actual number that these words mean, that it's representing based on their place value. And then we'll determine which one has the least value. All right, so the first choice says 520 thousandths. That THS is telling me that this is a decimal. So behind the decimal. So 520 thousandths means this right here. Remember that last number has to end up in whatever the place value is saying. So thousandths, the zeros in the thousandths place. 3 places after the decimal. The next one says 8 hundredths. So it's also that THS telling me it's a decimal. 8 has to fall in the hundredths place. So that means I've got to write a 0 and an 8 for that 8 to end up in the hundredths place. The next one, 94 thousandths. Again, still dealing with decimals. I told you we're dealing with decimals this week. 94 thousandths. If I want that 94 thousandths to end in the thousandths place, I have to put a 0 to hold a place and put 94 there. That way the 4 is ending up in the thousandths place. All right, the last one, 16 hundredths. So again, still a decimal. We want that 16 to end up last place in the hundredths place. All right, so these are the numbers that are representing those words. Now what we had to figure out in the first place was which ones of these has the least value. So if I go through these choices and I'll look, okay, let's look at the tenths place first. So if I look in the tenths place to compare this, those always go left to right. None of them have whole numbers, so I'm going to the tenths place first. All right, just by seeing this, I can cross out and say that choice A is not my answer because 5 is obviously greater than 0 and 1. 1 is greater than 0, so I can mark out the last choice as well. All right, to figure out which one of these is going to be the least value, I have to now look at the hundredths place and compare the 8 and the 9. And I know that the 8 is the least, so that means that this choice 2 is our answer. All right, on this one, they want to know which comparison is true. So we've got to look through each one and say, okay, which one's telling the truth? So if I look at choice A, I can look at this place value and tell that obviously the hundredths place is different. So there's no way that this is equal, so it's out. The next one says 7.43, 7.56. I can see the first place value that is different is the tenths place. And what this is saying is that the 4 is greater than the 5, which I know is also not true. All right, the next one, I have 7.82 and 7.83. So I know the hundredths place is different. And what this one is saying is that the 2 is greater than 3, which is also not a true statement. So I'm assuming the last one's is the correct answer, but we're going to check it just in case. So if I have 9.12 and 9.21, I can see that the tenths place is the first one that is different. And this is saying 1 is less than 2, which is a true statement. So that is your answer. All right, this one is giving you one of those choice matrix. They're saying that they have this number right here. All right, and what they're wanting to know is are all these representations of that number? So we're going to check correct or incorrect. So if I look at this and it says 802, okay, so I would say that's the correct whole number. And remember, that's where my decimal goes. 73 hundredths, so the 73 would have to stop at the hundredths place, and which is 2 places after the decimal, so that is correct. So we're going to mark correct on that one. The next one, if I look at it, 802. 8 times 100, this is expanded form, so 8 times 100 is correct. But when I look at this and it says 2 times 10, if I look at this 2 up in the actual number, it's actually in the ones place. So this would actually be representing 20, which I know is not the case. So just by seeing that, that one is definitely incorrect. All right. The last one, it's saying, it's just breaking it down in the numbers. 800 plus 2 plus 7 tenths, and 7 is in the tenths place, and the 3 is in the hundredths place. So this one is correct. All right, this one's asking for expanded form for this number right here. And this would be a drag and drop kind of situation, but obviously I'm just going to be filling in the numbers. If I look at this number up at the top, I see 72 to start out with. So the 7 is in the tens place. So that is exactly what should go in this box right here. So I'm going to mark them out as I use them. All right, the 2 is in the ones place. So all it should have is just the 1. The 8, now the 8, the 0 we're not putting because the 0 is not changing anything except holding a place there. But we need to know what is that 8 in. And that 8 is in the hundredths place. It's 2 places after the decimal. So this box would be 1 over 100. All right, and then the 6 would be in the thousandths place. So it would be 1 over 1,000. And that's the only 4 that we would use for this problem. Okay, this problem, they're just asking you to look at this inequality. They're wanting to know which 2 numbers could be put into this blank and it be a true statement. So we're using our place value and we're comparing these. All right, so they're wanting to know this number right here that's given, which ones is it greater than? So if I look at these choices, I've got to find 2 of them. If I look at this, I see the 710 is the same. The 58 is the same. What's different is that thousandths place right there. So I have 3 here and 0 here, which would tell me that, yes, the given number is greater than this answer. So I could put that one in there. All right, if I look at the next one, 710, and the 5 and the 8 is the same. The 2 is different. It's in the thousandths place. 3 is greater than 2, so it's also true. So the first 2 are actually our answer, because if I look at the next one, I'd be comparing the 3 and the 8, which would not be true. This one, I could compare the the hundredths place, and the 8 and the 9, which would say that actually this answer choice is greater than the given number, so it's definitely not true. Same thing here, the tenths place is greater than the given number. So none of those last 3 would be your answers. The first 2 are definitely your answer. Okay, this one's pretty easy if you just know your place value. It just says which digit shows the hundredths place in this given number. So we know the hundredths place is 2 places after the decimal, so it is 6. All right, on this one, we're just trying to figure out, it's another choice matrix, and we're trying to figure out which one of these numbers rounded to the nearest hundredth would round to 163.29 or 163.30. I'd have to round up to that. So we're going to look at each individual number in this column and choose an answer for each one. If I'm looking at the hundredths place and I look to the right, that 1 would tell that to stay the same, so it would be this answer. On this one, same thing. Hundredths place, look to the right. The 4 would also tell it to stay the same, so it is this. When I look at the hundredths place here and look to the right, this would tell it has to go up, so it would bump it all the way up to this one. And this would do exactly the same, so it would be this choice here too. Okay, this problem is asking which one rounded to the nearest tenth would round to 23.8, and we're looking for 3 of them. So if I'm looking at the tenths place, if I look at the first choice, the tenths place, there's a 7, and I'm looking to see it would round that up. So it would stay at 23.7, okay? If I looked at the next one, that 5 would tell the 7 to round up, so it would be 23.8, so that is one of your answers. The next one, I'm looking at the 7 again. The 6 tells it to round up, so it is also 23.8. All right, so it is one of your answers. The next one, I'm looking at the tenths place. The 2 tells the 8 to stay the same, so it's also 23.8. So it is also one of your answers. If you look at the last one, that 8, that is going to round up, because the 5 is going to tell it to. So it would actually be 23.9. So those 3 answers in the middle are your correct answers. All right, last problem. This one is just asking which amount is $25 when rounded to the nearest dollar. Now, remember, the nearest dollar actually means the ones place, okay, because the decimal behind the decimal represents the cents of a dollar. So if I look at these and I'm looking at the ones place, this would tell it to stay the same. So it would round to 24. If I look at this ones place, the 7 would tell it to round up. So that's what I'm looking for. So that is our answer. We can look at the next one just to check. The 5 would tell it to go up because so this would be 26. And the last one would do exactly the same. It would also be 26. So that second choice is definitely your answer. All right, once you've watched this video and the other videos, you will have a short little 15 question decimal checkup. So go get everything completed, and I hope you make a good grade, and I hope you have a great